On the day of my brother-in-law, Marquis Jingyuan's funeral, my legitimate sister killed herself by throwing herself against the coffin in the mourning hall. After being saved, the emperor praised her chastity and personally issued a decree naming her a virtuous widow. When the second young master of Jing'an Marquis Manor, Shen Yan, inherited the title, my sister arranged for me to marry into the manor, saying that with me as her sister-in-law, sisters keeping each other company, it would ease her loneliness. Shen Yan treated me extremely well. Before long, I became pregnant, and he personally fed me delicacies from land and sea every day, saying he wanted to nourish me properly until the day of delivery because the baby was too large. I had a difficult labor, yet the people in the manor only listened to my painful cries without a single person leaving to find a doctor for me. On the verge of death, my legitimate sister came in holding a child and placed it by my pillow. "Little sister, from now on, this will be your child. Go in peace. Your sister will help raise him." Shen Yan held their mother and child, looking at me coldly. "Letting you be the Marquis's wife for a year was already a bargain for you. The only person I've ever loved from beginning to end is Choyon. If she hadn't gotten pregnant, I wouldn't have married you to put on this show. So it turns out, everything was their trap." I took my last breath listening to their laughter. When I opened my eyes again, I returned to the day when the whole city was draped in white mourning, when Marquis Jing'an's coffin returned to the capital. Me legitimate sister, Cho Yun, stood in the crowd dressed in mourning, her face pale, with only a touch of red lips, looking particularly pitiable. The day after she married the Marquis of Jing'an, her husband went off to war. Less than a year later, news came that the Marquis had died in battle. His body was never recovered, and the coffin brought back contained nothing but his armor. The emperor, moved by the Marquis of Jing'an's bravery, personally waited at the city gates to receive his coffin back to the capital. A procession draped in white approached, and as the funeral music played, my legitimate sister slowly walked toward the coffin. In my previous life, she had thrown herself against the coffin right in front of the emperor and all the court officials, earning herself the reputation of a chaste and virtuous widow. I was so foolish back then. I rushed forward to stop her, unknowingly giving her a helping hand. She was saved while my chest was left bruised from the impact. This time, I want to see how she'll keep up this act without me. I held my legitimate sister's arm, putting on a show of sisterly affection, quietly shedding tears. She glanced at me, a flicker in her eyes, then suddenly burst into tears. "Husband, why did you leave me all alone? Choyon is coming to join you." Crying, she charged toward the coffin with all her might. I pretended to wipe my tears, let go of her arm, covered my face and wept. "Sister, please restrain your grief. Don't cry yourself sick." My legitimate sister didn't expect me to suddenly let go. She charged too fast and too hard with a loud bang. She slammed into the coffin, instantly splitting her head open and bleeding, then fainted. This is slapstick comedy meeting cold-blooded strategy. In her past life, Chin Muyun tragically died trying to stop her sister's suicide attempt. In this life, she simply steps aside. By letting her sister faceplant into the coffin, she achieves two things: physical pain for her enemy and the perfect excuse to call a doctor. It's a masterclass in passive resistance. She didn't push her, she just stopped holding her back. The suspense here is delightful. We watch the sister's performance turn into a literal headache, setting the stage for her downfall. I screamed and rushed over, watching my legitimate sister collapse on the ground, crying as I threw myself onto her. "Sister, someone help. Call a doctor quickly." The palace maids around the emperor gathered around, lifting my legitimate sister and supporting her to the side. Everyone from the Jing'an Marquis Manor couldn't help but sigh at her devotion. Her husband had died, and she actually wanted to follow him in death. A noble lady sighed. "What a virtuous woman." The empress was moved and spoke. The Jing'an marquis' wife's act of chastity is truly touching to heaven and earth. Your Majesty, such a virtuous woman who wishes to die with her husband, deserves to be granted a noble title to serve as a model for all women in the realm. The Emperor nodded with emotion. The Empress speaks wisely. Someone draft the decree bestow upon the Jing'an marquis' wife the title of second-rank noble lady, as recognition of her virtue. Everyone from the Jing'an marquis manor was overjoyed. This was an honor for the marquis. They all knelt to receive the decree. We thank your Majesty for this great grace. Inside the room, Shen Yan looked at my legitimate sister, still unconscious on the soft couch, and asked me worriedly, "Is sister-in-law all right?" I looked at the matron beside the Empress. "Matron, has the imperial physician arrived? Please have the imperial physician examine my sister quickly. She has now been honored by His Majesty as a chaste widow. Nothing must go wrong." If I remembered correctly, my legitimate sister was already 1 month pregnant at this time. She later schemed to have me marry into the marquis manor, precisely to facilitate switching the babies, so I could cover for their illegitimate child. This time, I am going to expose her pregnancy in front of everyone and let her shoot herself in the foot. As soon as I spoke, Shen Yan immediately stopped me. How could we trouble the imperial physician? It is better to bring her back to the marquis's residence and have a doctor examine her. His eyes were full of heartache, yet he was afraid the imperial physician's pulse diagnosis would expose the fact that his legitimate sister was pregnant. I said urgently, "Second young master, my sister martyred herself for the marquis. Such devotion moves heaven and earth. Doesn't she deserve to be examined by the imperial physician? She is a virtuous widow, personally honored by the emperor. If anything happens to her, can you bear the responsibility? Can you face your brother?" The matron nodded. "Miss Chin is absolutely right. Summon the imperial physician at once." The imperial physician arrived quickly. Shen Yan had no time to stop it. In the previous life, Qin Chaoyun had only pretended to crash into the coffin she was conscious, so there was no need for the imperial physician to check her pulse. And no one knew she was pregnant, know that she was unconscious. It was the perfect opportunity to expose her pregnancy. Shen Yan tried to stop it again, but I stepped forward and blocked him. "Second young master Shen, she is my sister. I won't allow anyone to harm her." Such a display of sisterly affection, who wouldn't be moved by it? The moment the Empress entered, she saw this scene and couldn't help but ask, "What is going on? Is the Marchioness all right?" The imperial physician immediately said, "This humble servant will now check the Marchioness of Jing'an's pulse." The Marchioness, who had rushed over, also waited quietly to the side, looking at Chaoyun covered in blood, her face full of heartache. Whether she was sincere or pretending, there was no way to know. Having received a noble title, she had to at least put on a show of concern. The imperial physician finished his examination with a look of shock and doubt. I cried out loudly, "Imperial physician, has something happened to my sister?" Tears streamed down my face as I threw myself beside my sister, calling her name over and over. The imperial physician hurriedly replied, "The Marchioness's health is not in serious danger. It is just. I am not sure if this humble official has made an error, but the Marchioness appears to have a pregnancy pulse. About 1 month along, this is the moment the bomb goes off. Qin Muyun uses her sister's unconsciousness, caused by the coffin slam, to force a medical examination. She plays the role of the worried sister so perfectly that no one suspects her motive. She demands the best doctors, invites the emperor to watch, and then, boom, a 1-month pregnancy when the husband has been gone for a year. It's undeniable. Scientific proof of adultery. She destroys her sister's reputation, not with rumors, but with pulse readings. It is surgical, it is public, and it is absolutely fatal to her sister's schemes." The moment the words "pregnancy pulse" were spoken, everyone fell silent. I said in a daze, What pregnancy pulse? The marquis has been away from the capital for a year. How could my sister possibly be pregnant? Shen Yan became somewhat flustered and said sharply, "Nonsense. How could sister-in-law possibly be pregnant?" I also looked furious. Imperial physician. Although my legitimate sister has only been married into the marquis's household for a year, who doesn't praise her virtue? Now that the marquis has died in battle, she was so grief-stricken that she even tried to follow him in death. Such a faithful woman, yet you slander her by saying she is pregnant. The imperial physician was also angered. This old man has served in the Imperial Medical Bureau for 40 years and has never made a mistake. Miss Qin, if you don't believe me, you are welcome to summon others to check her pulse. Looking at Shen Yan's panicked expression, I added fuel to the fire and knelt before the Empress. Your Majesty, please seek justice for my sister. Please summon a few more imperial physicians. The Marquis has just died, and already someone is throwing dirty water on my sister. The people inside the tent were making a commotion, and those outside had long heard the noise. The Emperor had also arrived, followed by 2 imperial physicians. Examined the pulse of Marquis Jing'an's wife, at the Emperor's command. The 2 imperial physicians immediately stepped forward. Within just a few breaths, both knelt down. Reporting to your Majesty, Marquis Jing'an's wife is indeed with child, already over a month along. I let out a gasp and instantly covered my mouth. The noble ladies outside the tent instantly erupted into chaos. I heard that just a few days after the wedding, Marquis Jing'an left for the border. During those long, lonely nights, could it be that Marquis Jing'an's wife couldn't endure the loneliness and took a lover? Heavens, she was just named a virtuous widow, and now she is pregnant. This is truly unheard of. If you ask me, the Marquis Jing'an's household may not be so clean either. TSK. The younger brother-in-law is of age, but still unmarried, who knows? The Emperor and Empress's expressions grew increasingly grim, and the old madam was about to erupt when Qin Cho-yun let out a soft ying and woke up. She opened her eyes, looked at the room full of people, her face full of sorrow, and struggled to get up. Why did you save me? Just let me follow my husband in death. He is dead. What meaning is there in my living? The old madam of Marquis Jing'an's household stepped forward and spat at her. Pa, you still have the nerve to mention my son. Hurry up and tell us who the adulterer is. The old madam's words struck sister's head like stones. She was completely bewildered and murmured, "Mother, what are you talking about?" I rushed forward in a fit of rage. "Sister, have you lost your mind? Whose child is in your belly?" Sister's face turned deathly pale. "What child?" I pointed at her belly. "The imperial physician has already diagnosed that you are 1 month pregnant. Sister, have you lost your mind? The Marquis is a great hero. How could you cheat on him just because you were left alone in an empty room and do such a thing? Where will our parents show their faces? What will the Dowager Marchioness of Jing'an think? Sister, just tell me, whose child is this exactly? Did someone force you?" Father and mother, who had rushed over upon hearing the news, happened to hear what I said and nearly fainted on the spot. Mother grabbed her arm and demanded, "You've been educated in propriety since childhood. You would never do such a thing. Tell me, did someone force you?" Sister murmured, not daring to speak. But the Dowager Marchioness of Jing'an was displeased. "What does the Duchess mean by this? Our Marquis household runs a strict household. The only ones who can enter the inner courtyard are blood relatives. Where would any villain come from to force her?" Ionians speak. "Whose child is this exactly?" Shen Yan stood to the side, drenched in cold sweat, ignoring sister's pleading eyes. He intended to let her take the fall alone. Weren't they supposed to be madly in love? They even deceived their way into marriage to be together, driving me to death. In this life, I want to see if they'll turn on each other like dogs. I stepped forward and grabbed my legitimate sister's hand. Sister, if you have any grievances, you must speak up in front of His Majesty and Her Majesty. What are you afraid of? The Emperor's grace extends to all corners of the realm. He just bestowed upon you the title of noble lady. You are an imperially decreed virtuous widow. If you truly committed adultery, that would be the crime of deceiving the Emperor. Her legitimate elder sister trembled in fear. The old madam pointed at her angrily. If you can't explain yourself, then drag her out and drown her in a pig cage. Our Shen family cannot afford such disgrace. The clan members who came along with the Shen family were also furious. What a disgrace to the family. Jing and Marquis Manor, watching the Emperor's expression, quickly threw this blame onto someone else. I looked at my legitimate sister with tears in my eyes. Sister, you are the legitimate eldest daughter of our Qin family. Father and mother have such high expectations for you. How could you do something so disgraceful to our family? Father said with a stern face, if someone forced you, we will seek justice for you. If you still won't speak, the Qin family will consider you as if we never had this daughter. The old madam of Jing and Marquis' household shouted harshly, if she won't speak, drag her away, 50 strokes of the cane, then drown her in a pig cage. My legitimate sister knelt down with a thud. Mother, the child in my womb, is Shen Yan's. The moment her words came out, Shen Yan fell straight to his knees, sweating profusely. Shen Yan's face was ashen as he kowtowed with loud, thud-thud sounds. Please forgive me, Your Majesty. The old madam of Marquis, Jing'an retreated several steps. What did you say? With that, she slapped Shen Yan hard across the face. You bastard! How dare you do such a shameless thing? How could you face your elder brother? Shen Yan knelt prostrate on the ground. Mother, your son knows his wrong, but at that time, elder brother got married, but went to the battlefield before the wedding night. He and Shoyun were never truly husband and wife. Your child has admired Koyun since childhood. Please, mother, grant us your blessing. Moreover, she already carries my flesh and blood in her womb, that is also the eldest grandson of the Jing'an Marquis Manor. My elder sister also cried and pleaded. I didn't mean for this to happen. Before the Marquis went to battle, he told me that if something happened to him, I must live well and need not remain a widow for him. He permitted me to remarry. My husband died for the country. Can you not even fulfill his dying wish? I was so angry I almost laughed. She really has some nerve. I stepped forward. Sister, the Marquis said that because he loved you and couldn't bear to see you widowed so young. But a month ago, news of his death hadn't even reached us yet. How could you betray him? How can our Qin family ever show our faces again? Father flung his sleeves and knelt down, crying to the Emperor, Your Majesty, this old minister has failed you. To have raised such a daughter is truly a disgrace to our family. The Emperor looked at them with disappointment. Qin Choyun, for the sake of the Marquis of Jing'an, I shall spare your life. It was I who bestowed the marriage between the Jingyuan Marquis Manor and the Ningguo Duke Manor back then. So now I shall also make the decision to have the Jing'an Marquis divorce you, strip you of your noble title from now on. You are no longer Minister Shen's wife. What a pity that the Jing'an Marquis died so young for his country, and there isn't even anyone to observe 3 years of mourning for him. The Emperor let out a sorrowful sigh. I lowered my eyes in thought. Back when the Emperor bestowed the marriage between the two families, he didn't specify which daughter the Ningguo Duke Manor should marry off. They simply followed the order of birth and married off my legitimate elder sister. Know the opportunity to become a widow is right before me. Why not request an imperial decree to marry the Jing'an Marquis? After all, he is already dead. I don't want to marry anyone, and father definitely won't let me stay home. If I step forward and preserve the entire clan's reputation, would they dare not be grateful to me? Who was the Jing'an marquis? With his widow's title on my head, who would dare bully me in the future? I fell to my knees with a thud. Your Majesty, the Jing'an marquis was a loyal hero of the nation. Since my elder sister has done something that disgraces his name, this humble subject is willing to atone for the Qin family's sins and observe 3 years of mourning for the marquis as his widow. This is the ultimate power move. Most people run from a funeral. Qin Mu-yun runs towards it. By volunteering to marry a dead man, she secures a noble title, the emperor's favor, and immense wealth, all without the hassle of an actual husband. Or so she thinks. She effectively steals her sister's life, upgrade included. It is a brilliant calculation. Trade 3 years of mourning for a lifetime of freedom and status. The irony. Her dead husband comes back alive, turning her calculated risk into a genuine romance. It's the plot twist she deserved. What? The emperor and empress exclaimed in shock. The Jing'an marquis is already dead, yet you are still willing to marry him, I kowtowed. This humble subject is willing. The Jing'an marquis died for his country, loyal and brave beyond compare. This humble subject is willing to remain faithful to him for life and never bring the slightest disgrace to his name. If the Jing'an marquis manor agrees, I am also willing to adopt an heir from the clan, raise him with care, and continue the Jing'an marquis's lineage. The empress's eyes reddened as she looked at her father and mother. Duke of Ning, it seems the Qin clan still has loyal and virtuous women. The emperor nodded. Good. Someone, draft the decree. Bestow upon the second daughter of the Duke of Ning, Qin Mu-yun, title of County Princess Hezhen. Grant her marriage to the Jing'an marquis. Reward her with 1,000 taels of gold and 100 acres of fertile land. The imperial decree was read aloud on the spot, and everyone looked at me in shock. The mourning clothes on Qin Xiaoyun were stripped off, and she was taken away by the servants to be confined in the ancestral hall of the marquis manor. I, changed into the mourning attire of a wife, stood at the very front of the procession receiving the coffin, holding the memorial tablet, welcoming the Jing'an marquis's coffin into the city. All the citizens of the city stood silently on both sides, tears falling on the spot. I stood at the front of the procession, eyes reddened, dabbing my tears with a handkerchief, welcoming my husband home. Just then, a fast horse came galloping from afar. The person on the horse shouted loudly, "The Jing'an marquis has returned! The Jing'an marquis has returned!" The messenger cavalry tumbled off his horse and fell to his knees before the emperor with a thud. "Reporting to your majesty, the marquis was struck by a poisoned arrow and fell off a cliff, but was saved by a farming family. He is not dead. He is already on his way back to the capital." The emperor was overjoyed. "Minister Shen isn't dead. Good, good. Quickly, prepare horses. Have the imperial physicians go to receive him. Hurry." All at once, news came that the Marquis of Jing'an had come back from the dead, and everyone burst into laughter. "He is not dead. This is wonderful. The Marquis of Jing'an is fine. The Marquis of Jing'an is all right. His Majesty values the Marquis of Jing'an the most. When he returns this time, he'll probably be promoted again." Before I could react, the old madam of the Marquis of Jing'an's household grabbed my hand. "Good child, you are blessed with good fortune. From now on, you are the eldest daughter-in-law of our Marquis's household. Mother only recognizes you as her daughter-in-law. Now that Shuo is still alive, when he returns, Mother will personally arrange your wedding. I will never treat you unfairly." She made no mention of Qin Xiaoyun, who had cheated on her husband. Her eyes filled only with me, the daughter-in-law, who had stepped forward to save the Marquis's household in its time of crisis. Xin Shu had returned to the Marquis of Jing'an's residence, but he was still unconscious due to poisoning. The imperial physician said the residual poison hadn't been cleared yet. and once it was completely purged, he would wake up. Because of the old madam's orders, everyone in the Marquis of Jing'an's household treated me with great respect, all calling me Madam Marquis and obeying my every word. As for Qin Choyun and Shen Yan, after kneeling in the ancestral hall for 3 days and 3 nights, they were finally dragged out. The old madam looked at them, her face full of disgust. You've done such shameless things and completely disgraced the Shen family. Qin Choyun, now that His Majesty has made the decision, you are no longer the madam of the Marquis of Jing'an. Wherever you want to go, just leave. Qin Choyun cried and begged. Please help me, mother. I am already carrying Shen Yan's child. Where else can I go? Shen Yan also pleaded bitterly. Mother, the child in Choyun's belly is also a descendant of the Qin family. Choyun and I were in love from the beginning. It was the emperor's decree that separated us. Elder brother left her alone shortly after their marriage. Choyun was miserable, and we just couldn't help ourselves. I couldn't help but mock. What does the second young master mean by this? If you two were in love, why didn't you speak up when the marriage was decreed? There were 5 marriageable daughters in our generation of the Qin family. Could it be that father forced elder sister to marry? Elder sister did such a thing, trampling our Qin family's reputation into the ground. Is that somehow our fault? Second young master, if you admired elder sister, why didn't you dare to fight for her? So timid and spineless, how can you call yourself a real man? Now that things have changed, you seduce your own elder brother's wife while he is away at war. Truly despicable. Qin Choyun screamed. Easy for you to say. If it were you married one day and left alone the next, I don't believe you'd accept it. I said disdainfully, even if my husband died, I wouldn't be like you. You, someone who steals her own brother-in-law, what right do you have to compare yourself to me? The old madam let out a long sigh. You two did such shameless things in the Marquis's residence, and now it is the talk of the whole city. I can't manage this anymore. Do as you please. After saying that, she left. That evening, news came from the Qin family father had summoned the clan elder to open the ancestral hall and struck my legitimate sister's name from the family register. Me legitimate sister cried herself half to death and tried to hang herself on the spot. Shen Yan had no choice but to plead before the old madam again. Mother, please, Zhao Yun has nowhere to go. She can only marry me. The old madam thumped her cane. Fine. For the sake of the child she is carrying, I'll give her a status. She can't be a proper wife, but she can follow you. No need to go out and embarrass yourselves. Pack your things and move to the side courtyard in the back. From now on, you brothers are separated. Shen Yan knelt and crawled to the old madam. Mother, I am your own son too. Is elder brother your son, but I am not? How can you treat me like this? Please, if I don't marry Zhao Yun, how will she survive? Following me so quietly without any ceremony, won't people laugh at her? I interrupted her. Little uncle is mistaken. If there were a proper wedding with a grand banquet, the Jing'an Marquis Manor would be the laughingstock of the entire capital. You may have no shame, but the Jing'an Marquis Manor still does. Qin Zhaoyun rushed in sobbing and cursed at me. Qin Muyun, don't get too smug. Shen Shu is still unconscious, who knows if he'll even wake up. Maybe you'll end up a widow too. Slap, I struck her across the face. How dare you curse my husband? Suddenly, a clear voice came from outside the door. Qin Choyun, I am not dead. Are you disappointed? I turned around and froze. It was Marquis Jing'an, Shen Shu. He looked like he had just woken up, his wounds still bandaged, supported by servants as he walked in. Shen Yan and Qin Choyun lowered their heads in shame when they saw Shen Shu enter. The old madam stood up excitedly, holding Shen Shu's hand. My son, you are awake. Why did you get up? Shen Shu sat in the main seat, looking at the two kneeling on the ground, and said softly, Miss Qin, when His Majesty bestowed the marriage, I had to go to the battlefield the next day due to the sudden outbreak of war, so I didn't consummate our marriage with you, fearing it would ruin your future. If you didn't want to remain faithful, you could have told Mother and returned home to remarry. I had already written the divorce papers and left them in the ancestral hall. I told Mother that if you had someone you loved, you were free to leave. Before I left, I explained everything to you clearly. Why did you have to bear the title of Marquis Jing'an's wife and do something so disgraceful to our family? Qin Choyun and Shen Yan couldn't say a word. Shen Shu continued, I suppose you two had been having an affair for a long time, thinking I would never come back. He turned to look at Shen Yan. And you, my good brother, father died early, and mother supported the Marquis's household alone. Since childhood, I was closest to you. I never expected you would commit adultery with your own sister-in-law. I am utterly disappointed in you. I pursed my lips and smiled, not expecting the Marquis of Jing'an to have such a sharp tongue. That night, Qin Chaoyun moved to the side courtyard together with Shen Yan. Having fallen from being the Marquis's wife to a nameless concubine, the servants treated her accordingly, naturally looking down on a woman like Qin Choyun, who had no sense of wifely virtue. Plus, the old madam had said that with the two brothers splitting the household, Shen Yan now counted as the second branch, and could no longer be considered a master of the Marquis's residence. With the Marquis of Jing'an returning alive, the backbone of the family was back, and the entire residence was immediately renewed from top to bottom, preparing to welcome the upcoming joyous occasion. Although my marriage with Shen Shu had already been made official before His Majesty, the old madam insisted on waiting until Shen Shu recovered his health before holding another wedding ceremony. He stayed in the side chamber of the main courtyard, making it convenient to take care of Shen Shu. He looked at me, his face carrying a solemn expression. I heard you were willing to mourn for me as a widow, holding my memorial tablet to marry me. Now that the imperial decree has been issued. Second, miss, whether you did it to preserve the Qin family's reputation, or for some other reason, this Marquis appreciates your sentiment. From now on, the Marquis of Jing'an's residence will be under your charge. As for Shen Yan, you don't need to bother with him. I heard the Duke's residence has already removed Qin Choyun from the family register, so you don't need to address her as your elder sister anymore. If anyone bullies you, just hit back. If anything happens, I'll naturally have your back. I let out a long breath of relief. It seemed this Shen Shu was actually a reasonable person. I am just a bit puzzled in my previous life. There was no such thing as the Marquis of Jing'an coming back from the dead. Could he also have been reborn? Inexplicably gaining a husband goes completely against my previous plans, but I am already riding a tiger and can't get off, so I can only accept it. Fortunately, this time, I've finally escaped those nightmares. Even though the Marquis of Jing'an has come back to life, as long as I treat him with mutual respect. Stay obediently in the inner courtyard. Don't get in his way, and give up my position once he has someone he loves. Surely he won't make things difficult for me. When the time comes, with a divorce letter, I'll be a cast-off wife, unable to remarry, which is perfect for living my own quiet little life. Wouldn't that be wonderful? Shen Yan holds an insignificant idle position at court. When news of the Marquis of Jing'an's death reached the capital, the emperor, to appease the Marquis's household, was prepared to let Shen Yan inherit the title. Some people at court learned of this news in advance, and naturally showered Shen Yan with all kinds of flattery to curry favor. Now that the Marquis of Jing'an has returned alive, Shen Yan has no hope of inheriting the title, and those people naturally won't bother with him anymore. What is more, the affair of him secretly getting his sister-in-law pregnant has long become known to everyone. Even when he goes to the government office for work, he gets pointed at and gossiped about, unable to hold his head up. Back at the residence, having been separated into the second branch, The servants also looked down on him. The old madam, to punish him, didn't give him much of the family property, and he doesn't have the money to move out of the marquis's residence. As soon as he returned to the courtyard, he saw Qin Cho-yun looking all spoiled and arrogant. She was suffering from morning sickness and couldn't keep anything down. With reddened eyes, she complained, "You are at least the second young master of the manor. How dare those servants treat you like this? I even have to pay silver just to get some sour plums. Do they even see us as their masters anymore? I used to be the lady of the house, a marquis's wife. Those servants would scramble to please me. Now that I've married you, I've ended up like this. I am still carrying the eldest grandson of the Jing'an Marquis Manor in my belly." Shen Yan smashed his teacup. "When you got together with me, didn't you know I was the second young master of the Marquis Manor? Weren't you willing when we got together? For you, I lost my mother's favor and made my brother despise me. What more do you want from me? If I'd known it would be like this, I might as well divorce you after some time. Once I've earned my mother's forgiveness, maybe she'll arrange another noble lady for me. Then you'll realize how good I've already been to you." The two argued fiercely, and news quickly reached the main courtyard. Shen Shu sneered, "My second brother has been useless in both literature and martial arts since childhood. Now, without the Marquis Manor as his big tree to lean on, he should learn to behave." The Jing'an Marquis returned to the capital with serious injuries, and the emperor granted him half a year's leave to recuperate. 3 months later, his injuries had mostly healed, and the old madam began preparing for our wedding. The Jing'an Marquis was now highly sought after, a favorite before the emperor. When the emperor heard he was going to hold another wedding, he specially bestowed many gifts as part of my dowry. Before the wedding, I returned to the Duke of Ning's residence to await marriage. Mother had a cold expression, but father was very happy and came forward to greet me. "Mu Yun, Marquis Jing'an has returned safely, and the marriage between our two families will proceed as planned, thanks to your virtuous act of loyalty that day. Otherwise, how would our Qin family explain to the emperor? Now that he is formally marrying you, the duke's residence can't be outdone. Don't worry, your dowry father has already prepared it for you. I guarantee you'll have a grand procession stretching 10 li, and you'll become the marchioness in magnificent style." On the eve of the wedding, the sisters of the Qin family all came to add to my dowry. While we were chatting lively, a servant came to report, "Second miss, the eldest miss has returned. The master said not to let her into the residence, and now she is making a scene outside. The eldest cousin, who is already married, spat. She nearly ruined all the women of our Qin family, and she still has the nerve to come back." I stood up. "I'll go take a look." Just as I walked into the courtyard, Qin Cho-yun had already rushed in, looking at me, her face full of pity. "Sister, I only came to add to your dowry. We'll be sisters-in-law from now on, so why must you be like this? Could it be that now that you are the Marchioness of Jing'an, you look down on your sister? When I was the Marchioness before, I never looked down on you." The eldest cousin mocked from the side. "Oh my, you've done such a shameless thing, and you still have the nerve to show your face." Qin Cho-yun looked at me with a flushed face. "Why did you have to bring someone to make things difficult for me? I did something shameless, but are you completely innocent? You and Marquis Jing'an never formally married, yet you've been living in the same courtyard for 3 months. I don't believe nothing happened between you two, a man and a woman alone together, so why mock me?" I stepped forward and slapped her across the face. "Qin Cho-yun." Back then, at the city gate, the emperor decreed the marriage between me and the Marquis of Jing'an, with all ceremonies kept simple. If he returned alive, I would rightfully be the Marchioness of Jing'an. Today's wedding is because the Marquis values me, because the old madam respects me. What does it have to do with you? Sister says there is something improper between me and the Marquis. Are you implying that the emperor's decree doesn't count? Qin Cho-yun covered her face and shrieked. How dare you hit me? I am your elder sister." After her outburst, she tried to lunge forward, but was grabbed by a guard. "Today, I'd like to see who dares disrespect my wife." It was Shen Shu, dressed in the groom's wedding robe, walking in with the wedding procession. He looked coldly at Shen Yan behind him. "If you can't discipline your own concubine, I'll do it myself. And when that happens, I won't care whether she is a woman or whether she is pregnant. She dares to disrespect the Marchioness. If I see this happen one more time, you'll all get out of the manor together." Shen Yan hurried forward and yanked Qin Chaoyun down. "What day is today that you dare to cause trouble? I am telling you, if you make another scene, I'll divorce you." Qin Chaoyun tore and hit at him. "Shen Yan, everyone else knows to stand up for their own wife. But you've never once spoken up for me. Now I am being humiliated by your elder brother, and you don't even dare to let out a single fart. Are you even a man?" The sound of their quarreling grew more and more distant, until it could no longer be heard. The matchmaker had already helped me back to the bridal chamber. Shen Shu brought people to welcome the bride again, reciting fan removal poems at the door, making it extremely lively. Unexpectedly, he, a military general, could compose verses so eloquently, which surprised me a bit. After much effort, the door was finally opened. The matchmaker called out loudly, "The bride is coming out to board the wedding palanquin." Shen Shu held my hand tightly and helped me onto the wedding palanquin. For this wedding, even the emperor sent his personal attendant to observe the ceremony. When we left, the 10-li-long red dowry, brought out by the Duke of Ningguo's residence, left all the citizens of the city speechless. The Qin family really went all out. Of course, she is marrying off a county princess, personally bestowed by the emperor, along with all kinds of rewards. I heard the Marquis of Jing'an values this marriage greatly and specially requested an imperial decree to hold the wedding. The Marquis naturally values the second miss. After all, she was once wholeheartedly devoted to observing widowhood for him, unlike that former wife. The Marquis of Jing'an and I, witnessed by a hall full of guests, bowed to heaven and earth and became husband and wife. The next morning, Shen Shu took me to serve tea to my mother-in-law. Just as the tea was being brought up, Qin Chaoyun burst in with red eyes and disheveled hair. "Mother, you must stand up for me. I am carrying Shen Yan's child, yet he has been keeping a mistress behind my back." Everyone was shocked. The clan members sitting in the hall were all stunned. Qin Chaoyun cried and said, "My husband didn't come home all night yesterday. I was worried, so I sent people to look for him. A servant boy said he saw him go to Huaiwa Alley, so I followed to find him. I never expected that he was keeping a mistress there, and she is already 3 months pregnant. Mother, you must stand up for me. That vixen dared to seduce my husband." Shen Yan rushed in. "Mother, don't listen to her nonsense. What vixen? She is a proper young lady from a respectable family. She is a concubine-born daughter of the Jiangyan Liu family. Although she is concubine-born, she is still a well-educated and refined woman." Qin Chaoyun jumped up. "Bullshit. Would a well-educated and refined woman secretly get involved with another woman's husband and get pregnant in secret? A shameless woman like her should be drowned in a pig cage." Shen Yan jumped up. "Don't you dare. How do you have the nerve to talk about Yin Yin? Are you any better yourself? You are even more shameless than her. Haven't you made enough of a laughingstock of yourself in the capital? If anyone should be drowned in a pig cage, it should be you first. For my sake, Yin Yin has already left the Liu family. I've made my decision. I am going to marry Yin Yin as my wife." The mother-in-law clutched her chest, nearly unable to catch her breath. "Shen Yan, how could you do such a thing? If you insist on having your way, then move out of the Marquis Manor. Once you leave, I won't care even if you marry several women." Shen Yan stood up. "Fine, Yin Yin and I are truly in love. I'll move out today." After saying this, he turned and left. Qin Chaoyun cried and shouted behind him, But he didn't even look back. Upon inquiry, it turned out that when Shen Yan was in Jiangnan before, he had fallen in love at first sight with the concubine-born daughter of Lord Liu, the vice minister of the Court of Judicial Review. This time, Lord Liu came to the capital for his new post, and Miss Liu naturally came along. Liu Yinyin was attracted to his good looks and his background from the marquis manor, not minding his scandal, while Shen Yan wanted to make a comeback by leveraging his father-in-law's influence. As a result, the two hit it off and tumbled into bed together. Shen Yan thought that since Liu Yinyin had fallen out with her family, and they had already consummated their relationship, Lord Liu would surely have no choice but to accept it. Who knew that Madame Liu was a tigress, always harsh toward concubine-born daughters, and directly threw her out. When Shen Yan got married and took Liu Yinyin as his legal wife, only upon the third day visit to her family, did he discover that the Liu family truly refused to acknowledge Liu Yinyin as their daughter. Shen Yan's world collapsed. Both wives he married had been cast out by their families, no help at all, only burdens. And the two women were no pushovers either. They quarreled daily in the courtyard, making such a racket that he didn't want to go home after work, and he became infatuated with a brothel songstress. The family property he inherited was squandered completely, and his wife and concubine at home could only use their own private savings to cover household expenses, suffering bitterly. On the day Qin Chaoyun went into labor, she sent a maid to fetch a doctor and midwife, only to discover that her dowry had long been emptied by Shen Yan. There was nothing left in the storeroom except a few dozen empty boxes. Everything had been sold off completely. The servants from that side ran to the marquise's residence for help, and her mother-in-law did send a midwife over. Unexpectedly, Qin Chaoyun had been overthinking during her pregnancy and had suffered a shock. Because Shen Yan showed her no care at all, she had been eating and drinking recklessly to vent her frustration, causing the baby to grow too large. She was in pain for a day and a night, but the baby still hadn't been born. Qin Chaoyun sent someone to find Shen Yan, but Shen Yan only said, "What woman doesn't give birth? Only you are this delicate." In the end, she actually died from the pain on the birthing bed. When Shen Yan heard the news of her tragic death, he was completely unmoved, just drinking at the brothel and refusing to go home. Liu Yinyin watched this and suddenly felt her heart turn cold. She took her newborn daughter and returned to her maiden home to admit her mistakes. When Shen Yan sobered up and returned to the residence, Liu Yinyin had left with the servants. The entire courtyard was empty, utterly desolate. When official Liu saw his daughter admitting her mistakes, his heart softened. He impeached Shen Yan at court, framing the matter as Shen Yan deliberately seducing and abducting his daughter, which led her to make such mistakes. Shen Yan was arrested by the authorities and locked in prison, hoping every day to see Liu Yinyin and be released soon. When the news came, I suddenly thought of my previous life, how Shen Yan and Qin Chaoyun coldly watched me die from a difficult childbirth while they schemed to swap the babies. I took a deep breath and touched my belly. Xin Shu looked at me with concern. "What is wrong? The imperial physician just diagnosed you with pregnancy. You mustn't overthink. Even if the second branch turns everything upside down, that is their own business. It has nothing to do with you." Yes, a few days ago I felt unwell and actually fainted in my room. Shen Shu hurriedly summoned an imperial physician from the palace, who discovered I was already 2 months pregnant. As for when we consummated our marriage, I can only blame myself for being greedy with wine and letting alcohol cloud my judgment. I tightly held Shen Shu's hand. "Marquis, no matter what happens, you will protect me and our child, won't you?" Shen Shu curved his lips into a smile. "Of course. You are my wife and child. I will definitely keep you safe." "What? Don't you trust me?" 8 months later, I went into labor, ignoring everyone's attempts to dissuade him. He personally stood guard by the bedside and solemnly said to me, Muyun, I have a secret to tell you. I was in too much pain to care about his secret and pushed him out. The next morning, as dawn broke, our firstborn son was born. The arrival of new life broke through all the shadows of my past life. From then on, every day was a good day. Now, if I were to capture the soul of this story in 2 phrases, they would be weaponized virtue and the art of step aside, first weaponized virtue. Chin Myun teaches us that in a world obsessed with reputation, virtue is a weapon. Her sister tried to use it, the fake suicide, but Chin Myun used it better. She used concern to call the doctor. She used loyalty to marry the dead marquis. She used family honor to shame the cheater's second. The art of step aside. This story isn't about fighting. It is about getting out of the way. Chin Mu-yun didn't kill her sister or poison her brother-in-law. She just stepped aside and let their own terrible choices destroy them. They cheated. They lied. They squandered money. All she had to do was watch. And so, we learn that sometimes the best way to win the game is to marry the dead guy and wait for the check to clear. If watching Chin Mu-yeon destroy a toxic couple with nothing but a handkerchief and a good doctor warmed your heart, please do press that like button. It helps our stories reach further than a 10-mile dowry procession. Subscribe for more tales of karma and comeback. And tell me in the comments, would you have the guts to marry a memorial tablet for a title and 1,000 taels of gold? Until we meet again, may your doctors be honest and your coffins be sturdy. Farewell.